In the annals of New Zealand's criminal history, few names evoke as much horror as Liam James Reid. His actions in 2007 not only led to devastating consequences for his victims and their families, but also shook the very fabric of a nation that prides itself on its safety and tranquility. This is the story of a man whose heinous crimes left scars on a community, sparked conversations about safety and justice, and underscored the resilience of those who survived or were left to mourn. Liam James Reid was born and raised in Christchurch, New Zealand, a city known for its picturesque landscapes and tight-knit communities. Despite his surroundings, Reid's upbringing was anything but idyllic. Friends and acquaintances described him as a quiet but troubled child, often withdrawn and prone to outbursts of anger. While many in his circle dismissed his behaviors as youthful defiance, there were warning signs that Reid's path was veering into darker territory. As a teenager, he engaged in petty crimes, shoplifting, vandalism, and occasional assaults. His acts were met with reprimands and brief interventions by authorities, but no one could foresee the violent trajectory his life would take. By his early 20s, Reid's life had spiraled further. He struggled to hold down jobs, and his relationships were turbulent, marked by manipulation and control. Women who dated Reid would later recount episodes of psychological abuse, intimidation, and alarming bursts of temper. Beneath the surface of his otherwise unremarkable existence was a man who thrived on power and domination, a trait that would define his later crimes. In 2007, Liam James Reid's predatory behavior escalated to acts of unspeakable violence. Two distinct but equally horrifying crimes would bring his name to national attention, leaving the public in shock and sorrow. Emma Agnus was a 20-year-old woman known for her vivacious spirit and kind heart. Born deaf, Emma refused to let her disability define her life. She was a role model for many in the deaf community and was described by friends and family as someone who radiated positivity and resilience. Tragically, Emma's life was cut short on November 15, 2007. On that day, Emma had arranged to meet a prospective buyer for her car, a red Mazda Familia. She left her home in Christchurch expecting a routine transaction, but she would never return. When Emma failed to check in with her family later that evening, concern turned to panic. A missing persons report was filed, and a large-scale search began. 11 days later, Emma's body was discovered in bushland near Spencer Park, a quiet area now tainted by the horrors of that discovery. She had been strangled to death, and her body had been set on fire in an attempt to conceal the evidence. The brutality of the crime stunned the nation, and Emma's loved ones were left grappling with an unimaginable loss. While the search for Emma Agnus was underway, another horrifying incident unfolded in Dunedin, approximately 360 kilometers from Christchurch. A 21-year-old woman, whose identity remains protected, was attacked and raped by a man who had offered her a ride home after a night out. The details of the assault were harrowing. The woman described being overpowered and subjected to extreme violence. Despite her trauma, she managed to escape and alert authorities. Her bravery in coming forward provided investigators with crucial information about her attacker, who would later be identified as Liam James Reid. The investigations into Emma Agnus' disappearance and the Dunedin assault ran parallel, though police were initially unaware that the two crimes were connected. However, the meticulous work of detectives soon revealed a chilling link between the two cases. Emma's car was found abandoned in central Christchurch, and forensic testing revealed traces of Reid's DNA. Additionally, surveillance footage from the day of Emma's disappearance placed Reid near her car, a critical piece of evidence that tied him to the crime. In Dunedin, the survivor's detailed account of her attacker, combined with forensic evidence, pointed squarely to Reid. His distinctive tattoos and prior criminal record made him a prime suspect. As the evidence mounted, Reid attempted to evade capture. He fled Christchurch, moving erratically between cities in an effort to stay ahead of law enforcement. His behavior grew increasingly desperate, and it became clear to investigators that they needed to act swiftly to prevent further harm. On December 14, 2007, Reid was apprehended in Christchurch. His arrest brought relief to a terrified public but marked the beginning of a lengthy legal process that would seek to hold him accountable for his crimes. Liam James Reid's trial began in 2008, capturing the nation's attention. The courtroom became a battleground for justice, with prosecutors presenting a compelling case that painted Reed as a cold-blooded predator. The evidence against Reed was overwhelming. Forensic analysis placed him at both crime scenes, and the survivor from Dunedin courageously testified, providing a first-hand account of her ordeal. Witnesses also came forward, describing Reed's erratic behavior and attempts to cover his tracks. Throughout the trial, Reed maintained his innocence, often displaying a chilling lack of remorse. His demeanor in court, at times smug and defiant, only deepened the public's disdain for him. After a deliberation of just 5 hours, the jury returned a unanimous verdict guilty. Reed was convicted of Emma Agnus' murder and the rape of the Dunedin woman. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 26 years, a sentence that reflected the severity of his crimes and the profound impact they had on his victims and their families. For Emma Agnus' family, the conviction of Liam James Reed brought a measure of closure, but it could never erase the pain of losing their beloved daughter and sister. In the years following Emma's death, her family became vocal advocates for violence prevention and support for the deaf community. They established initiatives in Emma's honor, ensuring that her legacy would live on as a beacon of hope and resilience. The survivor of the Dunedin attack faced a long road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. Despite the trauma she endured, she chose to use her experience to help others, becoming a quiet but powerful advocate for survivors of sexual violence. Her courage in confronting Reed and sharing her story was a testament to her strength and determination to reclaim her life. The crimes of Liam James Reed left a deep scar on New Zealand. They prompted widespread discussions about safety, trust, and the justice system's ability to protect its citizens. The communities rallied together to support the victims' families, while law enforcement agencies reviewed their protocols to ensure swifter action in similar cases. Reed's case also highlighted the importance of survivor advocacy. The voices of those who suffered at his hands served as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the need for systemic change to prevent such atrocities in the future. Liam James Reed may have left a trail of devastation, reflects a community leader, but he could not extinguish the light of those he sought to harm. Their strength, and the strength of those who loved them, stands as a testament to hope and healing. In the wake of Reed's conviction, Emma Agnus' family continued their work to promote awareness about violence against women and the unique challenges faced by the deaf community. They collaborated with advocacy groups, schools, and local governments to create educational programs aimed at fostering empathy and understanding. The survivor of the Dunedin assault also found her voice as a supporter of other survivors. Though she chose to remain anonymous, her story became a powerful tool in breaking the stigma surrounding sexual violence. Her resilience inspired countless others to speak out, seek help, and demand justice. Liam James Reed's name is etched in New Zealand's history as a symbol of cruelty and betrayal. Yet, the stories of those he harmed, and the strength of those who refused to let his actions define them, serve as a powerful counterbalance. From the tragedy of Emma Agnus' murder to the bravery of the Dunedin survivor, this story reminds us of the enduring power of hope, justice, and community. While scars remain, the light of those affected by Reed's crimes shines brighter, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The aftermath of Liam James Reed's crimes not only left a profound emotional impact on individuals, but also prompted an examination of societal vulnerabilities. New Zealand, a nation often regarded for its low crime rates and sense of safety, found itself grappling with hard truths about the prevalence of violence and the systems in place to prevent it. In the wake of Reed's conviction, advocacy groups began pushing for legislative reforms and public awareness campaigns. Among the most prominent discussions was the importance of educating communities about recognizing predatory behavior and encouraging victims of violence to come forward. Law enforcement agencies also undertook significant reviews of their protocols. In Emma Agnus' case, some questioned whether earlier intervention could have prevented her murder. The case became a turning point for training officers in dealing with missing persons cases, especially when the individual might be considered vulnerable due to disabilities or other factors. The successful conviction of Liam James Reed highlighted the critical role of forensic science in solving crimes. Reed's DNA, found at both the scene of Emma Agnus' murder and the location of the Dunedin assault, was the linchpin in linking him to the heinous acts. New Zealand's forensic laboratories received renewed funding and support in the years following Reed's case. The use of DNA technology became a cornerstone of modern investigations, ensuring that evidence would be preserved and analyzed with the utmost precision. The Reed case also sparked conversations about the accessibility of forensic resources in smaller communities. Advocates argued that expanding forensic capabilities across the country could help solve cases more quickly, particularly in rural areas where resources were limited. Over the years, Emma Agnus' story has remained a symbol of courage and the importance of embracing life, even in the face of adversity. Community vigils held annually in her honor continue to draw hundreds of attendees, many of whom are members of the deaf community. Her family established the Emma Agnus Foundation, an organization dedicated to providing resources and support for individuals with disabilities who may be at risk of violence. The foundation also works to educate the public about the unique challenges faced by the deaf and hard of hearing communities, including communication barriers during emergencies. The survivor of the Dunedin attack has chosen to maintain her anonymity, but her influence is felt in the programs and support groups that have emerged in the years since her ordeal. She remains an advocate for trauma-informed care, encouraging institutions to adopt approaches that prioritize the mental and emotional well-being of survivors during the justice process. For all its horror, the case of Liam James Reed served as a catalyst for important societal changes. The focus on violence prevention, survivor support, and legal reforms gained momentum as New Zealand worked to heal from the wounds his crimes inflicted. The justice system also faced scrutiny, with calls to ensure that offenders like Reed who exhibited clear patterns of predatory behavior were monitored more closely. The debate around parole, rehabilitation, and recidivism gained new urgency, as lawmakers sought to strike a balance between punishment and prevention. In the broader cultural context, Reed's crimes underscored the importance of fostering communities that prioritize empathy, vigilance, and accountability. Schools, workplaces, and local organizations began incorporating discussions about consent, respect, and bystander intervention into their programs, aiming to create a culture where violence is not tolerated. Though Liam James Reed is behind bars, the fight against the kind of violence he perpetrated continues. Advocacy groups emphasize that while one predator has been stopped, countless others remain at large. The systemic factors that allow such individuals to operate unchecked, social stigma, underreporting, and gaps in the justice system require ongoing attention. For many, the lessons of the Reed case are a call to action. Parents teach their children to trust their instincts and be cautious with strangers. Communities rally together to support survivors and ensure that their voices are heard. The resilience displayed by Emma Agnus' family and the Dunedin survivor inspires a collective determination to prevent similar tragedies.